Well, it's hard to believe, but I'm actually here in Scotland. And I'm here to see an Oyster 485. I'm still a little bit asleep. I took a nap here for the last couple of hours, but it was a long trip across the Atlantic overnight, and very cramped airplane seat. We booked this flight at the very last minute. There were seriously about 3 seats left on the plane, and they were all kind of toward the back, and that's fine with me. But my big frame didn't fit so well into those little seats. So this is what Scotland looks like. It's everything you would expect Scotland to be in the winter time. It's overcast and cloudy, and a little bit of rain here and there. And this is Troon, the town of Troon, and this is going to be where the boat is located at the marina. I'm waiting for a taxi cab to take me over there. Yeah, this is it. I'm still a little sleepy, a little groggy. It probably shows in my videoing, but yes. We went and looked at the Stella Maris boat in Spain, and we liked the boat. I mean, we were under kind of a verbal price agreement with those folks. But boy, you know, I just had to go see this boat too. And I really don't know which will be better yet. I have to see. And that's the thing. I mean, I kind of got the feeling that I had to come here. It was for the amount of money that it was, which really wasn't very much. In the grand scheme of things, I thought, you know, likely to have buyer's remorse if I didn't go and at least take a look. So here I am, and you know, at the very minimum, I get to have a little trip to Scotland. And unfortunately, Wendy couldn't come. She just couldn't make it fit in her schedule. Gosh, yeah.
See, in the taxi business, you see some people who are just absolutely so drunk. It's obscene how drunk people get. And if you said if they've been smoking marijuana, you would say, "Oh, don't ever take that again."
Yeah. Well, people say, "Well, which one's worse?" So we're getting used to it.
And if you can down onto the slip, they'll give you a code, and it's just down through that gate there.
So here's our broker. We are going to be looking at a couple of boats here. Not sure exactly where we're going. Here's Talisman. Oyster 485. There's their marine travel lift over here. With the bow thruster. Looks like it's operable. Fared a little bit on the front end. Tunnel thruster. Typical oyster keel. Attached a little lower down. Wooden cribbing for the boat. Preferred metal jack stands, but I guess this is what they use around here. Is basically trees. It tells me they took a transducer off to let it drain. There's a zinc, relatively large zinc, probably due for replacement. Feathering prop, max prop, feathering prop. Feels good. shark line cutter. As the surveyors look at that. Peter's telling me about how people have a tough time climbing these ladders. But broken fair lead here. It's hard to look at teak decks when they're wet and tell if they're damaged or what kind of condition they're in. During survey, the surveyor would probably go around with a hammer and a little small hammer and tap on the teak and see if anything feels loose. The Oysters, the teak decks are vacuum bagged and glued down, so there's no real penetrations except for usually like the center line piece of teak is usually screwed down, and some of the trim around the hatches, things like that. But otherwise, not a whole lot of opportunities for water to get into the deck.
As you can see, the table's clean with the photographs, but to take everything off the table to take the photograph, it's all lying there. And this is where I was saying down the hull, it's just so just let ventilation through here, because it's a keel step mast down here, and you'll see the hole, so that just allowed air flowing through the boat.
Certainly.
And this is all covered up. As such, just here's a piece of the trim just lying in the forward cabin.
Piece of the cabin, so.
Need a torch? No, probably brought one across.
I think I'm okay. Heaters on board to keep things dry. Separate shower. I'm gonna wash it. No freaking way when he's gonna freak. Yeah, this was the kind of water staining we saw on the other boat. Although I have to say this isn't quite as bad. I'm not going to dig around too much because I've got this blue anti-fouling on my hands. What a weather fact back here, and this is this an original Fruno weather radar system here,
yes.
or
Yeah.
this is the one that came with the boat? So it's pretty Predated. No boat should be without a voltmeter. Or two. 58s at 48, secondary and primary. This is Talisman's mast. Mast furling system. It would need to be replaced for sure. It's the weak link on all these. So, I've had Peter drop me off here at the boat. It's Saturday. This was supposed to be our day for showing. I did come in yesterday and look at the boat for a short while, but today's the day when I'm gonna, tear into everything and see how it looks. This is the difficult part about looking at boats. Is it's a lot of work to get down underneath all the floorboards and see what things look like. There's nothing down there usually that's not fixable. I've kind of said before, and I'll say it again, that really what you're looking for, I think, and the reason why I like doing it is I want to see what type of whether it's organized well or not, and labeled and clean, and so we go ahead and do that. We're also interested, of course, in what kind of stowage there is. We're looking for any kind of repairs that might have been made. That's a big one. That's probably the biggest thing, is looking for a place. If a boat had been hauled and run over ground and onto a rock or something and repaired, that would be something really worth knowing about. Any type of stress cracking or damage to stringers, ribs inside the boat, inside the hull, anything like that. That's important stuff. This boat feels good to me. It really does. It has a nice feel to it. It's got some small issues. I'm looking up at the ceiling, and over there you've got some Velcro that's coming loose. Some speaker housings that are missing. There was something up there in the ceiling. I don't know what. Maybe a speaker, but it's not there anymore. These are things that easy enough to fix. We're already going to have to go through and replace all these little can lights with something that's LED. These halogen lights just suck up electricity. It's amazing how energy efficient halogen or LED lights are. So anyway, I'm going to try to get to it here in a minute. I'm going to start looking around the boat. So yesterday we looked at just for fun, we walked over and looked at a Oyster 47, a newer boat. It had this exact same curtain thing. We very much liked the shades that they had on the Spanish boat. But you know, it is what it is. This is certainly not something that you would ever it just wouldn't be something that's an insurmountable problem. And that's kind of what we're looking for. You know, things like this where they've kind of glued something to the bulkhead, and then it's been, you know, damaged the woodwork, and you know, those are the types of things we try to keep an eye out for. So we're happy to see we're missing a little panel up there of this. Oh, there it is. It's hanging down. It probably just needs some Velcro. But maybe some inspection's been done. That's the bottom side of the fiberglass. But it's nice that they've got these liners in here. You know, stowage is just everything. This looks like a mast light, aqua signal. I'm not sure what these are for. This is a wooden boat hook, looks like. So this little guy here, it slips up here. You can take it and put it up top, like so, and then that creates the full bed. And if you do it right, it'll be in there so that this can't fall out. Okay, so here we've got tanks, deck pump out, deck pump stuff, tanks there, pretty full. Here's almost certainly a sail of some sort. Again, something there, I'm not sure what that is exactly. On this side, more tanks. Aft shower in galley sink, so this is fresh water, and then a sensor. Vent line, deck pump out. Large fender, forward vent filler, it says. You know, these are the types of things we like to see. I mean, this is all labeled. It's old style for sure, with the kind of stamped plastic, but nevertheless it's there. You know, here you've got your kind of burlap covering inside, which is nice. It's utilitarian. These screws are missing. No problem, and that's not a problem. In fact, since they are missing, I suppose I should get in here and take a look. So it says forward Blackwater Seacock and Greywater Seacock. So these are both shut off, I see. It looks like they're done okay. You get double clamps on the hoses. That's metal. The elbows are metal, and then there's two pumps in there. This could probably stand to possibly be rotated or something, because it's kind of creating a choke point there on that particular line out. But you know, big power supply lines. Nicely attached to a bus, so I think we're good there. All right, now that first Seacock could use some cleaning up. There's some sort of electrolysis occurring with that, and probably just cleanable. to be honest. Again, they're shut down, which is good. This boat's been winterized. They've got a nice big wooden plug here that's here in case one of these lines fail. I'd like to see a smaller plug as well. There's 2 plugs in here, but the cone stops a little too short for one of these smaller lines, but it's okay. So this particular valve goes in 2 directions, and they're saying this way, but I don't know which way that's going to be. Looks like this is lined up here, so I'd have to research that some and find out what's going on there. Just as I'm just kind of thinking out loud of something that I had noticed last night. So this is obviously a snap shackle. Not a snap shackle, it's just a screw-on shackle. So it calls into question exactly what these pieces of webbing are for. They look like they're in great condition, no exposure to the sun. I'd just be curious. Looks like some sort of a latching mechanism. It might be part of the dinghy. Here's a couple of throwable life rings, a bunch of canvas, sandstone, looks like canvas, cockpit cushions, little minor scuffs here and there. And it's a true blue water boat. You've got these are pad eyes for the lee cloths on these, and they're top and bottom. So here we have a forward shower, again labeled nicely, shower sump. And this is what I was talking about the mirrors suffering. I've seen this a lot. This happens on marine mirrors all the time. Not much headroom in here, but you're really sitting down, and it's the extra shower, not the one that not the master. A manual Jabsco toilet. It's a round bowl. I think it could stand to become an electric elongated household style bowl, but not cleaning supplies. Now look at this chain plate. That is something. All stainless. It may have had some water come down through it in the past, but all in all it looks pretty good. It's just nice and clean inside. Here's a cleaning stuff that you've got. You've got some nice fiddled shelving to keep everything in place. A nice little teak floorboards for this, and here's a shower, little plastic shower head. I mean, nothing crazy. Little hook. This hook's for the door. You hook it open so it doesn't slam open and shut. I mean, it doesn't look bad at all. It's just, this is a boat that's getting up there, 2000 or 1994 boat. So, these are things that can be swapped out if you feel you need to, but as long as they work. This is interesting. What's going on here with this Chanel? Here at the bottom of this rudder, they've drilled a bunch of holes, and what's happening there is water has gotten inside of this rudder. It's also probably been run aground. It looks like it got hit pretty hard, and so they've drilled it. They're letting it dry out, and eventually they'll come back and re-glass that over. Not a big deal, other than the fact that it calls into question how much force has been exerted on the rudder stock in these production boats. The rudders are kind of the weak link. And here you've got some repairs that were made underneath as well. It looks like, professionally repaired, but something happened. Not sure what. It needs to be repainted. If they repainted that, nobody would even be able to tell. In contrast, the Oyster, here you've got a Skeg hung rudder, and since it's up on the heart and everything, normally you'd probably grind all this down and repaint it. It's kind of in need of a fresh coat of bottom paint, but not too bad. But the idea of a Skeg hung rudder, first of all, is you've got a lower attachment point for the rudder. It's not a balanced rudder. If you had a balanced rudder, it would be like this one over here, and the rudder stock is kind of down the center line of the rudder. And when you turn the wheel, you're just not going to feel that much force. It's offset a little bit to the front to give you some feel, but it's designed to be relatively easy for the autopilot to handle it. With a design like this, when you turn the wheel hard, it's going to exert a lot of force on it. So it does transmit more force back through the steering system, and you have to keep an eye on chains and cables and whatnot, and the sheaves that it run through to make sure that it's all okay. Everything's in good shape. Here on this particular propeller, you can see that they've kept the oil, it's oiled and lubed, greased. This zinc is in really good shape. These are line cutters on here, designed to, if you happen to wrap the prop with some line, it's going to just shear it off literally right there. So you don't want to get your hand in there when it's running, that's for sure. But that's the idea, is to hopefully, if you're lucky, and you'd have to be very lucky, you'd be able to reverse the engine back and forth a couple of times and maybe get yourself free of a line without having to dive with a knife. No fun in cold water. Again, looking at the bottom, see if there's any damage of any sort. I just don't see anything really. I already looked at it yesterday. Not super excited about this bracing and cribbing that they've got going on here. It looks kind of backwoodsy to me, but I guess they know what they're doing. Okay, so the Oyster 485, we're going to do a recap here. I think, as you can see from the video footage, I was quite taken with the boat. I think it's kind of right in there with what we're looking for. It's an ocean-going blue water boat. It's heavy displacement, 38,000 pounds. There's no skimping whatsoever on the amount of fiberglass and materials that are going into the hull and also into the joinery. The interior is in excellent shape. There are some minor changes with Oyster for their newer boats, and if you owned one, you could probably tell a newer one from a slightly older version. But I think the average person on the street, I guarantee that there are buyers that go to Oyster and say, I really like the older teak styling. If you could do that for me, and of course they would. The layout of the boat is great. It's spacious inside. It's got great entertaining space inside. The galley layout is classic Oyster. They're still using this layout in their modern boats that they're producing today. It's the type of a galley that you can cook in while on passage. It even has a harness system to kind of tie you in if you feel the need. It's got a stand-up refrigerator, lots of refrigeration space. It's got it's obviously got a generator, a big Fisher Panda 6.5 generator. The aft stateroom, master stateroom with an ensuite head is fantastic, and that's really that just goes to having a center cockpit boat. That's what you get when you have a center cockpit boat. The forward stateroom, the V-berth up front, is every bit as nice as the master on most modern boats that are out there these days of the charter variety. So that's a nice thing. Then you've also got a couple of pilot berths, which are good. Every bed in the boat is fitted with lee cloths. The lee cloths, for those who don't know, are pieces of fabric that you kind of clip up and when you're sleeping in a berth, you basically cocoon yourself in, and that way, if the boat gets rocked heavily, you don't go flying out of your bed. And it's a nice offshore touch. A lot of boats don't have that. These are fitted nicely. There's also a ton of spares on this boat. I mean, like everywhere you look, there's even a starter, a replacement starter, and spares are a big part of cruising. You need spares for everything. Belts, in particular. If an alternator belt breaks, you all of a sudden don't have any way of charging your batteries. So, everything about the boat felt good. It's the shape of the hull too is definitely of the more sea kindly variety, the more of a raked bow. The modern boats, the modern production boats, a lot of them have very plumb bow, very flat hulls, and they're fast. I mean, they're fast and they're fun to sail. They're very quick, nimble boats. And if you're sailing in flat water and lots of wind, they're just an absolute scream. But they do have a tendency to pound when you're going upwind in big swells, so that they just fly off of waves and slam into the trough. And the boat, they're made to take it. It's not going to break the boat or anything, but it's uncomfortable, to be sure. We've had that happen to us in the past on one of those types of boats. A heavier displacement boat with a more of a raked bow and a more of a V-shaped forefoot is going to slice through the waves a lot better and be a lot smoother. So that's really kind of the what you're buying when you get a boat like this. The niche of Oyster. I mean, Oyster is probably one of the preeminent brands that are out there right now. They're still not only a viable company, but an absolutely fantastically successful company. They are getting better and more desirable by the day, and so that's another reason why we're interested in this boat. The Oyster customer service is something that's legendary. You call them up and you ask for a part, even on a boat that's this old, and they'll source it and track it down. And if they can't get it, they'll tell you somebody who might be able to make you one, or perhaps have something that's different. I mean, they just really go to bat for their customers. And on the bigger boats in particular, a lot of those owners are second and third Oyster boat owners, and they view current owners as future clients. And so it's just a great model. Works well. If you're to buy a new Oyster 475, I think is the current version of this boat, you'd be looking at $1 million to get into it, and then probably be at about $1.2 million, maybe $1.3 million by the time you put all the kit on there that you wanted. So we think it's a boat that's worth investing in. Again, it depends on the seller, if the seller's willing to bend a little bit on the price, and especially the electronics are very dated on this boat. I'm viewing that as possibly a selling feature, because I think I can probably negotiate at least the cost of a new electronics suite above and beyond any discount that the seller would agree to initially, because it obviously needs to be done. And we're probably looking at $10,000 to $15,000 for that. That's what it costs these days to go with the radar, AIS, chart plotters, nav pod, all the different pieces that go into one of these systems. I think we're going to start feeling out the broker about the motivation of the seller and see how interested he is in really selling this boat. But like always, you just can't get emotionally attached until you really have a deal in place. So we're going to kind of see where it goes. But of all the boats we've seen, this is the one that's really kind of caught our eye in terms of boat that we'd want to buy. So we'll just keep you posted on where it goes.